I'm going to show you how I made a card with the Welcoming Windows stamp set bundle, which is one of the new bundles from the upcoming July to December 2022 mini catalog from Stampin' Up. And I also used some of the cool new, they are pool party and soft seafoam cards and envelopes from the Celebration brochure. So those you can actually get for free with an order of $50 or greater. Starting on the 1st of July as well. So they're a really pretty pack of cards and envelopes. Again, this one is the pool party, obviously. And then it has these really pretty decorated envelopes. So it's got the pool party on the inside, soft sea foam on the outside. And then it's also got the little bit of kind of the white, hopefully you can see it on the screen, a little bit of the white decoration that's pre-printed on the envelopes as well. It's a pack of 20 cards, so there are 10 soft seafoam and 10 pool party cards. Card bases in it. So again, a total of 20 cards that you get. And like I said, they're really pretty and they're free. So you can get them for free with an order of $50 or greater. It's one of the Celebration options during Celebration, which runs from from July 1st through the end of August. So all right, so that is the card base that we're using. And again, this is the pack of them. So again, they've got soft sea foam and then the pool party that I used today. All right, so let me get a few things out of the way here. Okay, so this is the Window Wishes stamp set. Hey, Carol and Barbara and Denise and Pamela, thanks for hopping in today. And Tina is here as well. So this is the Window Wishes stamp set. And it's really cute. It's one of those, I don't know, I love the window builder. We had a window builder set. I'm trying to remember the name of it, and it shouldn't be escaping me because it wasn't that long ago, like a month ago. But there was a really cute window set. This one is definitely more Christmas themed, but I did pull it together and sort of make it I don't know, in my mind, it's a more fall themed card than Christmas with this one. I just picked different colors and basically stamped it in colors that weren't holiday or Christmas related. So, hey, Karen and Pam, thanks for joining as well. And Connie's here as well. So, oh, I'm glad your catalogs arrived quickly, and yes, it's a really good one. So, all right, so that is the Window Wishes stamp set. It is photopolymer, so it's easy to see through and easy to stamp with. Then it has coordinating window dies, and again, these are available in a bundle and you save 10% off if you purchase them together with the bundle item number. So, yay, glad you're here and catching me live. So, you're thinking of this set. Okay. It is a good set, so definitely get it. So don't, even if you don't love what I made with it, it's a really fun set to play with. So it's got the coordinating dies for the stamped images, the candle. This one, it took me a minute to figure out what it was. It looks like like a pull handle on a cabinet, but it in fact is the little wheels for the car. And this little extra piece here is actually so that you can stick them easily to the back of the car, which also has a die cut here. So those two are designed to work together. This is the little house and the roof. There are trees. These are the flames for the candle on here. So so again, super easy to use. Got some little kind of hills or snow hills or whatever you want to call them. There's a bow, and then the window pieces, wreath, the little swag that goes around the window. So it is a great stamp set bundle. So again, if it is not on your list, add it to it because you're going to have fun playing with it. All right, let me set that aside. A couple other things that I used. I pulled the Sentiment, which is the Grateful Sentiment, from the Painted Pheasant stamp set, which is another one of the new ones from the upcoming July to December mini catalog. And again, it's just a good kind of fall and Thanksgiving themed set, which I love. So anyhow, so this is another good one. Whoop, my stamp case, I guess, isn't open. So and then, of course, I used my stitched rectangle dies because it's pretty rare when I make a card that doesn't use these in some way. They either fit a Sentiment perfect or a card front perfect, so I can't help myself. This is a die set that if you don't have it, just get it and don't even bother, asking, do you need it? Because yes, you do. At least in my opinion, you do. Okay, a couple things before we get going on the card. I have got my mini Designer Series paper catalog, or mini catalog Designer Series paper shares. Sign up is going on now through the end of June. I've got a couple different options for paper shares. So paper share, if you're not familiar with it, is a great way to get a sampling of all of the new Designer Series papers from the upcoming catalog. There are some really pretty ones in there, and this allows you to kind of look at them, play with them a little bit, and then decide which ones you want to get full packs of, although you should just get full packs of all of them because you're going to love them. So anyhow, but if you have an interest interest in joining my share, I will add the campsite bio link to me, which is it's campsite bio /Stamp with Amy K, and you'll see it in the description of this video. My designer series paper share is linked up in there, so you can just click on that and head over to grab the paper share if you were interested in joining for that. I will get it ordered on the 1st and then chopped up and sent back out just as fast as my little hands can get it done. So next up, we do have through the end of June, Stampin' Up! Is still running their buy one, get one 50% off on all of the kits in the kits collection. These are totally separate from Paper Pumpkin, so you don't have to be a subscriber to get these. To find them, just again, it's linked up in my blog post, or you can head out to the online store and then click on the left-hand sidebar and find kits collection and click on that, and you'll see all the options that are available for the buy one, get one 50% off sale. One thing to know, the more expensive of the two kits is the one that you get for half off. So that is a great deal all the way alone. All right. And Stampin' Up! Also has their January to June 2022 mini catalog retiring and sale list that is happening right now. Through the end of June, there are a handful of products that are on sale, some of them up to 50% off. And anything that is on that retiring list will be going away. It's only while supplies last through the end of June. So make sure you're getting your last few items ordered before that stuff goes away for good. All right, that is all the yapping that I have to do. So let's get started on the card. So again, the card base is one of the Pool Party and Soft Sea Foam, and I should have left the card sitting over here. Pool Party and Soft Sea Foam cards and envelopes. Why can't I remember that? Anyway, you'd think I'd be able to, because that's pretty much what it is. So that is the card base. And then I've got the banners Pick-a-Punch, and we're going to use the little banner one and not the pokey outy one, whatever you, opposite banner one. And this is a piece of basic white cardstock that's cut to about 1 inch by about 4 inches long. And I'm just going to slide it all the way in with this punch. I guess I should describe it a little bit. So there's a 1/2 inch slot in here, a 3/4 of an inch, and then the 1 inch slot. So you can make little banners with different sizes of cardstock pieces. So again, this is a 1 inch. So I'm just going to slide it in so that it's hopefully fairly centered in there, and then do a quick punch, and then we've got a nice banner. I know some of you are skilled at snipping things out and making the little banners with snipping, and I am not. So as you know, scissors and I don't always get along. So I tend to use, if I have a tool that I can do, instead of cutting or punching anything like that, or instead of cutting something like that, I will happily punch it out or find a die that will cut it out. All right, so I've got my card base here. And I'm just going to took a little Stampin' Seal. This is basic white, if I didn't say that, which I probably forgot to say. And I'm just going to go ahead and stick this over here. I don't know that there's any specific measurement. It'll probably end up a little different than the one that I previously made. But just adhering it on with Stampin' Seal, trying to get it lined up here with the edge of the color on the cardstock. And then I've got a little piece of the Splendid Day Designer Series paper. And if you haven't seen this paper yet, this is a new one that's in my share in the mini catalog. And it is beautiful. I love the kind of neutral sides of it. But then the other side of all of the papers has some sort of foiling on it. This one in particular is copper. And it's really pretty. And it like kind of kills me a little just to put the copper side down. But I didn't think copper would look very good behind the window scene. So I went with the Calypso Coral version of it instead. So again, just using a little Stampin' Seal. This piece is cut to about 3 inches by about 4.5 inches, and all the measurements will be out on my blog tomorrow. And I will link up the blog post in this video description as soon as the blog post goes live, so you'll be able to find all the details. Now, as I'm lining this up, I am trying to get it so that it's somewhat even on the top and the bottom and straight along the edge here. I obviously wanted it slid over just a little bit when I did the design on this one. So, all right. Oh, yeah, the wheels, like I said, I looked at the wheel thing and I'm like, is that like, I thought it was a pull handle for the window. And I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. And then, yeah, then all of a sudden I realized that, oh, that's the tires for the car. So sometimes it takes me a moment to figure them out. And I sometimes actually have to die cut everything in order to be able to be like, oh, now I get it. Okay. So, all right. Ahead of time, I did some of the die cutting because it gets a little monotonous watching me over and over die cut things, but I will explain to you what each of the die cuts are. So this is crumb cake cardstock, and I cut it with this larger, obviously, window die. So that one is pretty easy to figure out. Then I've got Pool Party cardstock that I also cut with this same die only I kept what would normally be like the negative piece of the die cut. So that's where that one came from. And then this is a piece of soft suede cardstock that I wanted to look like the dirt or the background on it. So the first thing that I did was, I don't know, this was probably 3/4 of an inch tall or so when I started. I took this little die, which is one of the ground, dirt, I don't know, snowdrift dies. I don't know why I'm like drawing a blank on what I'm trying to say here, but the backgroundy look dies, and I basically took it and I cut this little piece of cardstock, and then I took this die and put it over the top of it and cut it a second time. I did not try to put these two together and cut them at the same time, which if you really wanted a steep hill, you probably could make it work. I didn't want that steep of a hill, so I cut it with the kind of hill die first and then came back and cut it a second time with the window die. And then there is this little windowsill die, and that one I cut also from crumb cake cardstock. And just so you know, this does fit perfectly, very easily inside this. So if you wanted to cut these both at the same time from the same cardstock piece, you can certainly do that. It saves you one pass through the die cutting machine. And this last one is a little bow that I cut. And again, I'm sure it's probably a little hard to see on the screen, but this is sort of a kind of a woven look piece of designer series paper from that same Splendid Day specialty pack of paper. The back side of this one has got some kind of, I don't know, almost, I think it's champagne color. I can't remember what color it is for sure. And then this is the little bow die that I used. So that is how I got all the other pieces cut out. A couple pieces that I wanted to show you how to cut was, one of them was the frame for the window. Well, I guess the others I'm just going to stamp and cut. So the only one that I really wanted to show you how it works is the frame for the window. So when you're cutting the frame for the window, you're going to need two dies. You're going to need this one, the larger one, as well as the smaller one. And again, you can cut them both at the same time, or if you get a little nervous, like sometimes I do about trying to put too many pieces through the machine at one time, you can cut the outside first and then take this, essentially what is the negative piece in here, and cut it a second time with this die. So whatever works best for you, that's how you get the kind of white framing look around the window. So I'm going to give it a whirl at running them both through at the same time, and keep your fingers crossed that hopefully it'll all work. So I'm going to be off screen on my die cutting machine for just a second. Hope y'all are having a great Friday. It's kind of a nice day here in New Jersey for a change. A little warm, but no rain today, which I was happy about. All right, I'm pulling all the dies off here, and the die cut. So there's the little kind of window frame that is left after all the die cutting is done. All right, now we're going to start sticking a few things together, and then we'll do a little stamping. So on this, I actually started with the pool party piece of cardstock and the little hill that I had cut from soft suede cardstock. And we're going to use a little liquid glue, and we're just going to stick these together. And again, doesn't need to be perfectly glued, or a pile of glue, just a little bit on there will work. And then I'm just going to line it up so that the bottom edges are lined up nicely, bottom edges and corners, I should say. So hopefully I can get that done. All right, so got that done. It's 4 o'clock in the morning and you're up. Good heavens, Margaret, go back to bed. I would. All right, the next piece that I'm going to add on here is the little window frame cut. And I'm going to try to keep the liquid glue to a minimum on here and just do a little thin line. So I'm barely squeezing the glue out at all. And just going to try to get it along the very edges here. And sometimes I'm more successful at not making a mess than others. All right, I'm going to run a little bit along the bottom. And again, you don't need piles of this glue because it's really sticky, as you'll find out once it gets all over your fingers like I do. So I'm going to grab my little tweezers here, flip it upside down, or flip it right side up, I should say, and I'm going to place it over the top of the other two die cuts. Let go, tweezers. Well, alrighty then. Trying not to make a mess, and I just made a huge mess with the glue. Thank goodness the glue dries, and we can roll it off. So, all right. Now I think I actually have it stuck on there without glue being everywhere, only a few places. So this is why I don't like liquid glue, because I make such a darn mess with it. But it's all good. If you think ahead, unlike I just did. So, hey, Susan from Green Bay. It's a little roasty there. It's warm here in New Jersey today, definitely. So, and it's supposed to get hot this weekend, I'm hearing. So we shall see. All right. If you think ahead, that's what I started to say, you can use the adhesive sheets on the back of this. If you prefer not to mess around with the liquid glue, you can definitely do adhesive sheets with this. And that makes it really easy as well. All right, so to get the window inside the window frame, I'm just going to take that, flip it face down, make sure that I've got my little window framing face down, and then I'm going to start sticking a pile of Stampin' dimensionals sort of right along the edges, and that is how I'm going to adhere it to the card front, as well as keep the pieces kind of together as I go to adhere it to the card front. So let me stick a few more of these on, and yes, there are kind of a lot of them. I don't normally use piles of dimensionals, but this one I kind of did. So I felt like it needed a few to make sure everything stayed in place. And again, just flip it over to make sure everything looks the way that you want it to before you stick it officially on your card front. But that's the way I wanted mine to look. I wanted it to look like it was stuck inside the window, which hopefully I successfully did that. And pick off the little dimensional covers, which are sticking all over everything. It's stuck actually in my Stampin' seal. There we go. Okay. Anyway, all good. Okay, so I've got my dimensionals all over the back of this, and then I'm going to take it and try to get it lined up here on my card front. And again, I don't know that there's a particular special way, rhyme or reason that I stuck it on here, but again, tried to make it a little bit even around the edges and the bottom. That was sort of the goal with it. Whether I successfully did that or not, I don't know. All right, so there we go. Got most of this done, and again, I'm just going to give it a couple of good smooshes along here where my dimensionals are, because I want to make sure that both the framing and the inside piece are stuck down solid. This is the little window ledge piece that is here. That's the one I told you can put inside this die cut when you're cutting them, and you can put them together. So let liquid glue dry a bit. It does adhere everywhere, and it does remain sticky, and it is a huge mess. And yes, I agree with you. That is why I don't use liquid glue, only in spots where I have to, because I tend to make a huge mess with it, and then I'm stuck to my project, and my project is stuck to my desk, and then everybody's sad. So all right, so got a little bit of liquid glue that I'm putting on this little thin die cut. And then I'm going to put it here on line it up on the bottom of the window and try to get it centered in there. And going to hold it down for just a second. But yes, if I do make a big glue mess, like this one, I probably will go back afterwards. Once it dries completely, you can usually either kind of take your finger or one of those glue erasers and rub over the top of it, and it kind of almost balls up the glue, and then you can take it off your card really easily, because I have a lot of glue disasters. So, all right, now we're actually going to do a little bit of stamping. Let me get a couple pieces of cardstock here. So I've got basic white cardstock, and I think I can do them both on this one. And we are going to stamp the wreath image, which it might have been helpful if I had actually put the images on the blocks, which I failed to do. So, oh, good heavens, Amy. I got the blocks out, but I just failed to put the images on them. And we need the little trees. So let's get the trees here. And let me grab a second block so that I can get the trees done. Goodness. Oh. All right, so I've got my little wreath here on one block, and I'm actually going to stick both trees on the other one, because it doesn't matter how they're stamped on here. As long as I get them both stamped and far enough apart that I can get the dies in between them, then I am good. So I stamped the wreath in Calypso Coral. Let it dry before you try to put it on the card. Okay. Okay. All right. Let it dry before you put it on the card, and then it doesn't squish everywhere. That probably would work too. Or if you're impatient like me and make a huge mess. Usually I make the mess because I drop it, and that's the part that I have. I don't know. Sometimes I put too much glue on, but usually I make the mess because I drop it like I did there, and then it's all in the wrong place and just a mess. So, all right, soft sea foam is what I'm stamping the trees in. I'm going to stamp those over here on the other side of my basic white cardstock panel. And then I'm going to grab a couple of the dies from the window dies, and I've got this one, which is the wreath die. And oh, look at that. I even got it on there, I think, the right way the first try, which sometimes it happens. Sometimes I have to spin it around 15 times. And then I've got my little tree dies here. Here's the other one. And we're just going to run these through the die cutting machine as well. So hang on, I'll be off screen for 1 second. And of course, as I set it down, then all the dies scooched everywhere. I should get some Post-it note tape. All right. Let me get the trees lined up, and then we can run it through the machine here, and I think we'll be good, hopefully. And if I cut anything too crazy, I can always restamp it. All right. But I think I got all of them to go pretty easily here. All right. Oof, if I can get them off the die cutting machine. There we go. One little thing, a quick note, and I should have probably showed you that before I cut it, is actually when you're lining up the trees to die cut them, and again, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but you can see we've got the little peaks here, and then they actually were nice and put the little ejection holes right here and here. So if you can see the color that you stamped your trees in those little holes, then you know that the bottom of the trees are going to be lined up too. The die for this one is the same way. It's got a little hole in the bottom of it, so that definitely helps you when you're lining things up, because I know sometimes on those little pieces I struggle a little, so that's what I tend to do, is just take a peek through the little hole in the bottom and make sure it's all lined up and we're good to go. All right, next up we are going to do a little bit of adhering here. So I've got some glue dots out, and I'm going to use those on the back of my wreath, maybe, if I don't drop everything, or I probably will drop everything. You can also use liquid glue on these if you would prefer. Again, since I tend to make a mess with liquid glue, I try to stick with the drier glues, such as Stampin' Seal and glue dots, anytime that I can. And then I'm going to take that, and we're just going to stick it up here, kind of up towards the top part of the window here. Then we've got our little trees, and we're going to put those outside in the backyard. Again, glue dots. And I'm just going to take this one, and I actually need to tuck it up here, make sure I got it under the wreath. I don't want it in front of the wreath. All right, and then same thing for the other little tree, just going to add a glue dot to the back of it and stick it down here on the card front. And the last piece that is a little teeny tiny one that I need to glue on is the bow, and again, that was cut from the Splendid Day Designer Series paper. Hey Carol, thanks for hopping in. So, and I'm going to actually going to be daring and use liquid glue on this as well. So I'm going to put just a little dot of it there, and then we're going to stick it up here near the top of the wreath, and I'm going to hold it down for a second and then set it aside so I don't bang into it and knock it over. But let me make sure it's stuck down well before as I can't seem to take my finger out. There we go. Okay, that time it's stuck well. All right, so that's almost it for the card front. We've got a little more stamping to do. We've got a sentiment. So I've got Calypso Coral cardstock, and yay, the Embossing Buddy is back, which is very exciting for those of you that have not used one. It actually takes kind of the oils from your fingers, sometimes get on cardstock. You can't see it, but the cardstock can still tell it's there, and then your embossing powders will stick to that. And it also just helps to keep the stray pieces of the embossing powder where you want them to be, either in the bowl or on the stamped image, and not stuck all over the cardstock. So I do really like the Embossing Buddies back. It's in an embossing pack. And it's in with the pumpkin sweet. I'm trying to remember the name of the sweet, but I can't, of course. All right, so Sentiment is from the Painted Pheasant stamp set. And again, stamping it in Versamark ink, and we're going to do some heat embossing. And today I did remember to bring over my heat tool. Hopefully I remember to plug it in. We'll find out in 1 second. I've got white embossing powder from the Basics Embossing Powders. And we've got, I'm going to do another quick sprinkle over the top to make sure we've got it all covered. Put my lid on my embossing powder before I end up with that sprayed everywhere. And then pull out the heat tool, and yay, I remember the heat tool, and it's plugged in. So the Stampin' Up! Heat tool has 2 settings on it. There's a level 1 setting for drying and a level 2 setting for heat embossing. So level 1 setting you can use for things like watercoloring, or if you have an ink that takes a little longer to dry, some of the darker inks, something like that where you want to hurry it along a little bit, you can use that level 1 setting. And level 2 setting is hotter, and you can use that for heat embossing, which we will in just 1 second here. Hopefully I've got my heat tool heated up enough. When the heat tool is doing its work, you will know that it is that the embossing powder is done when it turns shiny and smooth. And also, if you're using white, it's a little easier to tell because it turns a really bright white. The metallics, it gets a really nice kind of smooth, shiny finish on it as well. Don't overheat your embossing powder because you can burn it and then it's not as pretty. And also give it a second once you get done doing your embossing to make sure that it cools down, because if you touch it right away, you can actually smear it. And again, all things that I've done, that is how I know to tell you not to do them. So, all right, I've got my stitched rectangle dies, and I've got the smallest of the narrow dies. That's how I describe them. These are the wide dies, these are the narrow dies. It's the smallest of the narrow dies. And I'm going to cut the sentiment out with that. So I'll be off screen again for just 1 second. And we'll get this cut. And hopefully cut straight. All right, so there's our sentiment. And I'm going to grab a little bit of Stampin' Seal and put it under. Again, I want to pay attention because this is the side I want to have the Stampin' Seal on. This I'm going to put a dimensional under. So I'm going to, whoop, see, there's my naughty dimensional cover that I thought I had out of the way. But now it's stuck to my thumb and I can't get rid of it. And all right, so let's try this again. Stampin' Seal on the left-hand side of it, a Stampin' Dimensional, not just the cover, under the right-hand side. And I do chop my Stampin' Dimensionals in half just because I like the way they fit better. If you prefer the whole Stampin' Dimensionals, you can certainly do that. I know everyone has their own opinion on that, whether they like them or whether they hate them. I happen to love the little ones, so better than the minis because I like the shape and the size of them better. And I know that's weird, but it's just my personal thing. All right, so we're sticking that to the card front. And then the last thing on the card front is a couple of the fine sparkle adhesive backed gems. And they're in the Gnome suite. I can't remember what page it's on. I know it's towards the middle of the catalog. And they coordinate with the colors in the Gnome paper, but there's also Pool Party in here. And I think that one actually might be Calypso Coral as well, but I'm not entirely sure. I know that one's Pool Party. So we're gonna be using a couple of the little Pool Party sparkly gems here. And I'm just gonna randomly stick them around on the card front. Stick one over there and one over here on this side of the sentiment. And again, they're not too in your face, but they're just kind of a nice shimmery, sparkly, I don't know. I guess it's fine sparkles. So, all right, there we go. The last thing I'm gonna do is take a little piece of the leftover Designer Series paper that I trimmed off when I was trimming a piece for the card front. And we're just going to adhere it to the inside of the card base. So, hey, Carla, I'm glad that you like the card and glad that it gave you some ideas for how to use it. So it's a cute stamp set and the cards and envelopes are beautiful. And they match. I love that they match. I probably totally forgot to say that. The cards and envelopes coordinate with the Splendid Day Designer Series paper and that whole suite of products. And so that's kind of how I picked the paper that I was going to use today, is I wanted to use one of the cards and envelopes, and I went, why don't I just pull out all that paper and we'll figure out what works. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this. Again, it's a little bit oversized for what I need, but it's always easier to trim it down than it is to try to add to it. So that's usually what I try to do is use a longer piece and cut it down. That is the only kind of fussy cutting that I actually can do fairly well. And sometimes I can't even do that well. All right, there we go. We're gonna go ahead and fold it in half and do a little crease with the bone folder. And that is it. So we've got our pretty envelope here, a coordinating envelope that's got the soft sea foam in it, so it matches with the trees. And it's got the Pool Party, so it matches with the actual card as well. And then this is the card I made ahead of time, but this is the one we made here today. And that's it. So super simple. It's a fun little stamp set, fun bundle. The cards are beautiful, so get the bundle, get a few accessories, and then get yourself the card pack for free. So pretty, all sorts of good things, all coming on July 1st. Let me know if you have any questions. If you don't have a demonstrator yet and would like a copy of the catalog and the celebration brochure, drop me an email. Again, there's a link to all that in the campsite bio link that I'll add here in the description of the video. So come find me. Come over to my blog tomorrow and check out the details for the card. And I think that's it. So thanks again for stopping by, and hopefully I didn't ramble on too long. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I will plan to be live around 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Tuesday on my Facebook page, and then back here around 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Friday. Have a great weekend, and we will chat soon.